Hey everyone, and welcome to Tony for The Cradle of Civilization. Tony for you. Africa is a big place, with a near unknowable amount of different cultures, customs, and ways of life. Many scientists believe the continent to be the origin point of all humankind. Despite this, not very many people are familiar with the local legends, folklore, and historical religions of the area. In Shin Megami Tensei, a game known for its ability to portray mythological figures from all walks of life, African deities and legends are no exception. From parallels to more well-known legends like trickster gods and shapeshifters to wholly unique deities and caretakers of humanity. Let's change things and shine some light on the continent so large and mysterious, but familiar all the same. Let's take a look at the African deities of Shin Megami Tensei. What better way to start than with the supreme deity, this one of the Akan people, Onyankopon. His true name being Onyankopon Nyame Odomankoma, originating from the region of Ghana, he is commonly referred to as Anyame. His name literally translates to, the one who knows and sees everything. Pretty straightforward, I like that in a god. With these old religions though, nothing is really as simple as it seems. According to this god, there are actually 3 gods that make up one god. Bear with me. Each of these deities are the aforementioned hyphenated names I mentioned before, Onyankopon, Nyame, and Odomankoma, with each of them representing an aspect of divinity as the Trinity. The usage of the word Trinity to represent a supreme god may have got you thinking of Christianity, though the symbology of a Trinity representing all things divine is not a new concept at all. One could say the usage of a trinity is an archetype seen across the world, from Hinduism with Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, Christianity with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and even some pagan beliefs like Wicca with the Mother, Maiden, and Old Crone. Each of these individual gods split represents concepts and ideals for different people, but ultimately are exemplified in the truth of their unique god. In the Akom region, Odomankoma is the aspect representing all things creative, with reason, reality, and the absolute. His powers are not bound by the laws of the land, and is consistently described as the creator god, even given the title of Father. That being said, Father is a bit of an understatement though, since there is a saying the worshippers have, being Odomankoma Buade, meaning Odomankoma created the thing. The thing in question being, well, the entire universe along with everything that has ever and will ever exist on it. As for Onyankopon, he is the successor to Odomankoma, representing the male aspect of the Trinity and also the youngest among them. Being Nyame's son, he has large shoes to fill, but it seems he is fit for the task. Onyankopon literally means the only great Onyame. Now I know what you're thinking, how can he be the only great Onyame when there are other aspects of the god? Well, sadly there's always trouble in these old religions. An entity named Owo was created by Odomankoma, who was a being solely dedicated to death, be it the death of humans, animals, or even gods. One day, Owo would come for Odomankoma, putting a grand symbolic end to the god of creativity and life. For all that will live must also die. Onyankopon was named the successor, and he was a mighty fine one at that, being called the powerful Onyankopon, the giver of the sun, and carrying aspects of his predecessor with him, even being mistaken for the supreme creator himself. Onyankopon was always fond of humans, even living among them in his early years. Those who revered him saw the god as a bringer of motivation and mercy in times of hardship. Even when he migrated to the realm of the sky, the humans that loved him never felt he had truly left them at all. In Shin Megami Tensei, Onyankopon is portrayed as this little fella. Dressed in what looks like traditional African garments in vibrant gold patterns, he holds a scepter with a bird motif, commanding the sky, and his head garment emblazoned with an extravagant sun, representing his title as bringer of the sun. His body, being that of a small, dark humanoid, is most likely in reference to the old carvings found in many African tribes representing their deities with the means they had to revere them. Overall, a really unique and interesting design for a wonderful and kind deity. Next up, let's talk about a being who is a little less nice, but very closely tied to the previous god. Anasi, or Ananse, is also a god in the Akan religion, with his name translating to spider. He is a god representing wisdom and knowledge, but most of all, trickery, and is believed to possibly be Onyankopon's son. Well known within the region for his ability to defeat much larger and skilled opponents with his schemes, creativity, and wit. Anasi is the star of many tales dubbed the Spider Tales, spread across the regions of West Africa, having Anansi in the role of a protagonist and antagonist. The best way to understand Anansi is to understand one of his most famous stories, the story of how he became the keeper of all tales. Long ago, Anansi looked like a man, but with extra arms and extra legs, and could even spin webs. Despite this odd appearance, he lived with humans, accepted by them. After some time, Anansi noticed humans were miserable. They lacked anything to make their lives bright. Just then, he recalled, in the sky palace of Niamey, the sky god owned all the stories of the world. Stories could make any human happy, for generations to come. Anansi spun his web to the heavens and met with the sky god, where he was greeted directly. The lives of humans are so bleak, they need something to give them hope. I hoped you might share your stories with them, Anansi proclaimed. The sky god laughed in Anansi's face, thinking the idea of sharing to be foolish. Anansi insisted on sharing the stories with humanity, however, which tugged at the sky god's heartstrings enough to give Anansi a chance. A small one, but a chance. The spider god was given 4 of the ruler's most impossible tasks. You must capture Maboro, the deadly hornet swarm, Onini, the killer python, Osibo, the stealthy leopard, and Moashia, the mischievous fairy. To the god's surprise, Anansi eagerly accepted, which left him in equal parts confused and concerned. Coming back to Earth, Anansi went to his wife, Eso, and she agreed to help him. Anansi tricked the angry swarm of hornets into taking shelter in a large gourd, making them think it was raining, after pouring water on a large leaf above his head. Next, Anansi and his wife tricked the killer python Onini by appealing to his vanity. Pretending to have an argument with his wife, Anansi said Eso didn't believe the python to actually be the longest being in the world. Quick to anger, the snake stretched out fully to prove a point. Anansi said he had curled at the end, so he had to fix it by simply tying him down. When the python agreed, Anansi had officially completed 2 of his tasks. Next was Osibo, the leopard, and possibly the most dangerous task yet. Knowing he was clearly outmatched, Anansi simply dug a hole and waited for the leopard to strike him first. The leopard prided himself on stealth, but with that came a slow approach. Right before he was about to pounce on the spider god, he fell into the large pit. Finally, the last was Moesha, whose magic was even greater than that of the spider gods. To nab her, Anansi baked a delicious dish of yams, placed it on the ground, and then placed a small doll covered in sticky sap. Not long after, the fairy appeared, asking for a bite of the delicious treat. The doll was a doll, so it didn't say anything. The fairy became enraged and slapped the doll across the face, getting her stuck in the process. With wit and more than a little trickery, all the tasks had been completed. Anansi went back to the Sky Palace in record time too. The Sky God was less than enthused about his, let's just say, unorthodox approach. But a deal is a deal. Anansi was told that humans would be forever grateful to the spider, and all tales would be called spider stories from then on in his honor. To this day, the tradition of spider stories lives on in that region. In Shin Megami Tensei, Anansi is portrayed extremely well, being a large man dressed in wrapped cloth carrying traditional African design, with fine golden jewelry on his wrists and ankles. He has 6 spider legs and, along with his regular human legs, makes a normal spider's clean 8. His eyes are seemingly that of a spider, though he never looks straight ahead, symbolic of him always hiding a certain part of his intent. His head ornament even looks like that of a gourd, in reference to one of his tasks being to trap the hornets which he held in a gourd. Such a great design for the deity we all owe so much to, as the new keeper of stories. Now let's talk about something a little closer to home. What kind of African folklore breakdown would this be if I didn't mention something relating to voodoo in some way? Loa, or sometimes spelled Lua, are spirits in Haitian and Dominican voodoo. Now, I know those aren't African countries, but the religion was spread throughout the world during the African slave trade. Due to this, there are many parallels to more modern Abrahamic beliefs. The Loa are spirits known to be intermediaries between humans and the divine, messengers, if you will. The god in this case is a being known as Bondye, the transcendent creator deity. Much like angels, each Loa has their own unique personalities and can even be closely tied to specific colors and objects. Many believe them to be not too dissimilar to the Catholic saints in that way. The Loa are divided into two different groups, or nanchons, Petwo and Rada. Petwo are the Loa who might be a little less friendly. They are known to be volatile and hot-tempered. Rada, on the other hand, are known to be rather kind and mild-mannered. That isn't to say that one is good and the other is evil, however, rather that they serve different purposes when venerated by the voodooist. For Petwo Loa, they may be short-tempered and quick to anger, but they are especially useful when the would-be practitioner requires something to get done quickly and efficiently. Matters pertaining to wealth especially are considered to be the domain of the Petwo. Rituals to venerate these Loa usually have a mix of rum, blood, gunpowder, and pepper. The rhythm of drums are fast and loud, with yelling, explosions, and cracking of whips being especially effective in pleasing these spiritual beings. The Rada Loa are much less intense in their ceremonies. They are usually invoked when the voodooist requires something regarding other people and manners of delicacy with grace and kindness. They are even venerated simply to maintain prosperity and good relations. The offerings are that of fruit and other pleasant-smelling aromatics, along with blood. Can't escape it, I guess. The rituals involve dancing, feasting, and music potentially lasting all night long. Voodooists even practice a ritual known as mystic marriage, which is, as you might expect, the act of marrying a Loa. This is more of a symbolic gesture, obviously, than a real marriage, but the ceremony is still very much the same. The priest has a large party, special attire, wedding cake, and even ring. Though obviously you can't consummate a marriage with a spiritual being, so a vow of celibacy is required. I don't think you want to be caught cheating on an angel. Some Loas are more important than others though, much like in Abrahamic religions. In Voodoo, there is a Loa that is a direct parallel to the idea of an angel of death. These Loa, named Guide, are said to be the guides of the recently deceased, escorting them to the afterlife. One of the most famous of these Guides is a being known as Papa Guide. He is believed to have been the first man who ever died, appearing as a short, dark-skinned man with a large top hat commonly seen smoking cigars and eating apples. Despite his domain of death, he is widely seen as a benevolent spirit, and when there is a young child sick, Papa Guide is often prayed to. It's believed he will not take a life before it's ready, and so, when he is shown one so young dying an unjust death, he will step in and make it right. In Shin Megami Tensei, Loa are portrayed as large skulls with snakes coiled around them. Despite the striking appearance, I can't quite find an exact reason why they're portrayed in this way. In common depictions, they are snake-like humans or sometimes just skeletons, so mixing the two could make sense. Papa Guide is also portrayed at SMT, with a demon known just as Guide. Here portrayed very closely to his depiction in folklore, with a dapper outfit, top hat with snake ornament, and skeletal painted dark skin. Even his body language is correctly conveyed, as in legend, he's believed to have quite a sense of humor, if a little crass, so his wide grin and forward-facing hunch is very accurate. A much more interesting backstory than you might think for a simple skull demon. Well, that wraps up my exploration into a lesser-known region. Let me know which demon was your favorite in the comments down below, and while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Honestly, Anasi surprised me a lot. His spider-like appearance really makes you think he's evil, and while he isn't exactly good, he really isn't a bad guy. Special thanks to ZZZ, Andre Vinicius da Silva Valens, Arctic Mirror, Kalos, Kerhos, Jem Morales, Just a Middleman, Masker2196, Matt M, Not Catchy, Patty123, Paul Torrio, The Digital Dutchman, VideoGamer75, Zeba Neba, and many more for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Thanks for watching this African Demon Roundup, and I'll see you in the next Tony for You. Have a good one.